I'm John Brandon Bates, and today I'm going to be talking about the causes of the American Revolution.
Before we get into the actual causes of the American Revolution, we have to bring it back to the roots with the Zenger trial in 1735.
This one person, Peter Zenger, published a weekly journal that wrote against the governor and got accused of libel, which then brought revolutionary ideas as freedom of the press. This type of subject then ended up leading to the causes that are more now renowned, like the Acts, but it started with these ideas.
So next up, we have the French and Indian War, also known as the 7 Years' War. The French and Indian War was a war between the French and the British over territory land in North America. So now, let's bring up Madeline Hess about some facts of why it's important in the American Revolution.
Hi, Brandon.
Hey, Madeline. So, explain to us why the American Revolution has anything to do with the French and Indian War.
Well, basically, the French and Indian War kind of set up the tension between the British and the colonists, because after the war, the British became owed a lot of money, and so they began excessively taxing the colonists, which angered them. And also, they passed the Proclamatory Act of 1763, which said that they couldn't sell land past the Mississippi River because of Native American attacks. And this also angered them because they felt like the British weren't focused on their needs and their desires.
So the colonists started having some ideas and anger towards the British.
Yes, so basically because of this war, the colonists became angry with the British in the way that they were being treated.
Okay, thank you, Madeline.
You're welcome.
So Madeline explained to us how the French and Indian War brought a lot of debt to the British. So now let's see how these taxes that the British imposed on the colonists after the French and Indian War, let's see how this affected the colonists. So right now we're going to bring Ellie Hegwood in, and she's going to talk to us about this.
Well, first of all, when the British fell really deep into debt after the French and Indian War, they started to tax the colonists, and they passed all these acts, and one of the first ones was the Sugar Act in 1764, where they taxed all sugar products, and they tried to limit the amount of smuggled goods that were coming in to the colonies, since the colonists were getting really, really good at it. And then after that passed the Stamp Act, which was in March of 1765. The Stamp Act was really important because it was the first act that reached directly into the colonists' pockets, because everyone needed a death certificate or a birth certificate, and the Stamp Act taxed all legal documents. And then in 1766, they passed the Declaratory Act, which stated that Parliament had the same authority over the colonists as British citizens. And this really angered the colonists because they were still not being represented in British Parliament and they were still getting taxed. And finally, the Townshend Act in 1767 placed taxes on all common household items, which again reached deeply into the colonists' pockets and led further to anger and smuggling.
So really what you're saying is that all these taxes, they just kept angering the colonists.
Yes, the colonists were so upset.
Thank you, Ellie. So, after the British imposed taxes on the colonists without the representation in the Parliament, the colonists obviously got very angry.
And one of the things that happened because of all this anger was the Boston Massacre. And pretty much colonists were pushing and provoking and angering the British soldiers until the British soldiers responded, leading to the death of 5 colonists, which then angered the colonists even more. So now let's bring in Tyler Johnston, and he will tell us something that they did with all this anger.
With all this anger, the colonists formed the groups the Sons and Daughters of Liberty. The Sons of Liberty
Was a radical group that protested the taxes of the British, and it led to major events like the Boston Tea Party and the tar and feather tax collectors. And the Daughters of Liberty were in support of the Sons of Liberty by making their clothes and other goods that they needed, so they didn't have to buy British goods. Thank you, Tyler.
So, as a result of all of these responses that the colonists did, including the Boston Tea Party, the British responded with the Intolerable Acts. These acts include like the Quartering Act, the Boston Poor Act, and the Quebec Act. And basically what these acts did is they wanted to really punish the colonists for all of their acts of rebellion, including closing the Boston Harbor from incoming goods and imports for the colonists. And pretty much these Intolerable Acts, even though they were in response to colonists rebelling, they only angered the colonists even more. So as a result of all the events with the Intolerable Acts and the British trying to stop these rebellions that the colonists were doing, the committees of correspondence occurred. And pretty much what happened was that these colonists attempted this system to communicate and talk and discuss different issues and matters of this whole situation between the colonists and the British. With this, they organized the First Continental Congress. And pretty much what happened is they just talked about, it was mainly in response to the Intolerable Acts, and they discussed and figured out a plan to do something against the British. And then happened the Second Continental Congress, which was again the same thing, but ended up leading to the Declaration of Independence, and overall the 13 colonies, excluding Maryland, talking about going against the British, and ended up leading to the Revolutionary War. Looking at all of this and how they caused the American Revolution, let's go back to one of the original acts that happened towards the British from the colonists, which was the Albany Plan of Union of 1754. And pretty much what happened was the colonies tried to go under one centralized form of government by themselves with the help of Benjamin Franklin, famous Join or Die political cartoon, and basically
one of the first things that they did to try to separate themselves from the British, but it ended up failing in the end. With that being said, of all these causes and the Albany Plan of Union, let's bring Madeline here in to talk about just how these things caused the American Revolution.
So basically, the Vendor Chart, it was kind of the first idea within the colonists that they wanted these frames, they deserved these frames, which was the frame of the Sugar Act, the Townsend Act, and it was all just to help raise money just to pay back for the war. And it's really good anger the colonists, which led them to many rebellions, such as the Boston Massacre, the Boston Tea Party, and led to many groups forming, such as the idea that they wanted to be separate, and they signed and wrote the Declaration of Independence, which created independence from Great Britain. And the Albany Plan of Union was just kind of one of the original plans for them to create their own centralized government and be their own government and not be controlled by Great Britain.
So yeah, pretty much just the overview of how this all caused the American Revolution. And with that being said, we have
The American Revolution.